Thank you for joining me on this episode of Nextbiteoflife.com podcast. My name is Kem, as you know. Today, I have got with me a blogger by the name of Calin, and his website is called RomaniaExperience.com. As you can imagine, he lives in Romania, and today we're going to just talk about how life is since the pandemic virus that's affecting the whole world, really. So let's get to know Callan a little bit better. Callan, welcome to the show.
Hello, Cam. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So tell me a
Too.
little bit about yourself. How long have you been um, a blogger? And tell me your story. Tell me your story.
Okay. So I started blogging for a company here in Romania, a large company that was one of the top 300 websites in the world back then, and it's still doing good right now in 2008. But after 1 year of seeing how things are and how little they paid me for how much work I was putting in, I decided
Yeah.
to, I said I can beat them, and I will make ten thousands of dollars of a month, like just like that. So because I was young, I was
Big
20,
dreams.
20 something. Yeah, I just jumped head first into this, having no worries. And yeah, in 2009, this happened. And
Yeah.
some 6 months later, I had made just $300. So
So a fortune then, right?
yeah. So things weren't looking as well, but I was starting to get worried. I started to enjoy the work from home, be your own boss thing, but at the
Yeah.
same time, that wasn't fitting me. So I was starting to worry that I will have to get a traditional job once again. And I set a deadline. I said I have 6 more months to try this, make it work. If not, it's back to work. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to uh, earn enough to make a modest living. uh, I was lucky because I was living in Romania, which is a very low cost of living country. So
Hmm.
I kept doing this, and things turned out good. Even though I haven't, even now, more than 10 years after jumping headfirst into it, I haven't reached my goal of making $10,000 per month. But you know, there is
But
still
you
time.
keep plugging away.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yes, of course. You're still young. I mean,
yeah.
2008 wasn't that long ago, so there's still plenty of time. But the important thing is like you certainly haven't given up. You know exactly what you wanted to do, and you knew that you didn't want to work for the man, so to speak. So you forged your own way. I mean,
Yes,
really, isn't that what dreams are made of?
yes, exactly. This was actually the main thing that pushed me. The freedoms. It's not really a freedom because when you work for yourself, you still have to. Most of my people, my friends, believe that working for myself, doing your own thing is like stay, staying in bed the entire day watching movies, but you
Of
actually have
course.
to work very hard. Those
Yes.
first 9 months, I was putting in maybe 12, 14 hours of work per day. So
Wow.
it was no joke, and I was making no money.
Yeah.
I did
And you,
a lot of things wrong now that I
yes.
know, but this is one way to learn.
Yes. And you'll remember for the next time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
only if
because
I had a time machine, to go back and restart, it would be so nice.
I mean, because the thing is, like, when you work for yourself, you're basically your own CEO. You're your publicist. You're your typist. You're your accounts keeper. You're everything. So
Exactly,
it's
exactly.
not that easy. It sounds easy, but it's not.
Yes, it's not, but it's worth it. If it would have been, incredibly difficult, I wouldn't have done it. So it's not that
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I'm very lucky to be able to do this, especially now during these times, these
Yeah.
strange times, being able to work from home and still have a job.
Exactly. It makes things a little bit easier. Now we met online quite a few years ago. I think I
Yeah,
would say probably in the region of 7 8 years,
yeah, yeah,
and time flies. No, maybe even longer. And then after we moved to Europe, we still kept in touch, and I read your blog, and we had always been interested in visiting Romania. And one of the things I like best about working online and having a blog is you get to meet people from all over the world. And I was telling you this recently. I would never have thought, like a few years ago, that we would ever meet in real life. But we ended up meeting about a couple of years ago, at least, I think,
yeah, yeah.
where we visited Bucharest, and we were able to meet you, and we had a fabulous time. It was wonderful. It was what I pictured the country to be like, and I really liked it. The weather sucks, but
Yeah,
but the food, you know how much I love the food and the people, and it was great. And I got to meet your wife, your lovely son, and then you guys came to Valencia and visited for a month, which was great too. And so, how was it like? How does it feel to be able, because I know you've not only met me, you've met other people. Even, I think, if I remember correctly from your blog, there was an American family that moved to
yes, exactly.
Romania.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They also found out about Romania through my blog. They were searching, you know, for new adventures, let's say, for new places
Yeah.
to move to. They contact me, they send me an email, they told me, here's what we want to do. They were many people, actually many people send me emails telling me that they want to make the move.
Hmm.
We talk a bit and then they disappear
Of
probably,
course.
they're not making the move in the end because
Yes.
it's not easy. Moving from a country to another, making the move permanent
Yeah.
is difficult, especially in a country like Romania where there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy, and they're not making it easy
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
people outside the European Union to move. But
Yes.
yes, they were pretty much set on doing this, and after talking a lot and becoming online friends, I decided to go and meet them.
Hmm.
My impression was that I was helping them, but
Hmm.
they had done so much research and they knew everything that I was actually there just like to
To
provide a bit of
confirm.
yeah, exactly, and maybe translate a thing or two with people that
Yeah.
didn't speak English because
Yeah.
they already knew what they were doing. So
Right.
this is probably the best approach and the best thing to do whenever you're making a more permanent move. Do your research like
Research.
crazy, you know.
Exactly. It's amazing to me how many people don't do that. Like when we lived in Malaga, I met at least three couples and a single lady who basically read, you know, an article or two by this big um, expat geared magazine online, which told them that, the cost of living in Spain was so cheap and everything was hunky dory and blah blah blah. And before you knew it, that was the only thing they read
Yeah.
and they believed, and they moved. And of course they got there and realized that it was nothing like they pictured.
I,
And
we know how the articles, generally we always talk about the many articles of this type not being very true to
yeah.
you know ignoring some of the bad parts just to
Yes.
glamorize and impress.
But like you said, you need to do your research a lot. Read between the lines, because really nothing is that good. There's no place that's 100%, but you have to see if the good part will outweigh the bad part, and then make your decision based on that. But if you think it's all going to be rosy, and you're going to move to a country where you don't speak the language, and you just by reading 10 pages of something telling you how life is great, and then you get there and you're disappointed, well, it's your own fault, really.
Exactly, exactly. And you should always be prepared for surprises. That's
Oh, yes.
a
And
given.
there are lots of them. you know? Now, let's segue into this pandemic that the world has now been part of for over a month. Like, when did it actually hit you that this was something really serious? I mean, you were at home, so it wasn't, but you were reading the news. When did it occur to you that this might be way more than we're prepared for?
Well, this is actually a bit strange. It was I've had so many strange and feelings, and I went through stages that I never thought I will ever go to. It was pretty crazy. I actually learned about the virus uh, early on. When it was just in China and there were just a few reported cases back in January. It was
Hmm.
actually my mother who told me. I don't really watch the news, and
Yeah.
she just mentioned it, and I said, "Oh, let's just Google and see what's this about the new virus." So it's not possible for a new virus to appear, in
Exactly.
2020.
Of
And
course.
and I didn't, like with anything. There were other threats in the past that didn't materialize, so I didn't really. It was far away. I said nothing
Yes.
could happen.
Yes.
But every now and then, my mother told me, there are 100, there are 1,000 people. And I started,
Mommy was there for the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
providing
yeah,
the statistics.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I started doing a bit of research. So I can say that I've been following this since it began, And
Hmm.
even then, I was probably like most of the world. I was hoping or thinking or believing that it will stay there. Then
Yes.
it then it didn't. So eventually, it started to spread in Asia, and I said, "Oh,
Hmm.
okay, it's just there. No cases in Europe. It's okay."
Exactly.
Then a few cases started to pop up in Europe. I said, "Ah, it's Romania will not be affected because it's such a small country. Nobody visits."
Exactly. Nobody goes there.
Then the reports started to flow in, not of infections, but of people. I was surprised with the globalization and how open the world is now compared to the past.
Yes.
I wasn't aware that so many. There were reports, of hundreds of people returning from China, and I said that,
Uh-huh.
I didn't even believe it. It seemed strange to me that so many Romanians were
Exactly.
traveling to China. It was strange for a small country, but
Yeah.
everything changed. Even more when there was the first case confirmed in the country. I know that
Hmm.
that was when I felt, my stomach tighten.
Carl.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I said, okay, so this is really here. We have to do something about it. And unlike many other people, I started to prepare a bit, buy some food, some everything we needed. Not hoard,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not buy tens of kilos of flour and toilet paper and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but be prepared. I was again thinking that this will last 1-2 weeks and it
Uh-huh.
will be over.
And that'll be it. Exactly. I think you've said exactly what a lot of us felt. Like you always thought, well, it started in China, it'll stay there. And then you hear this and they're like, well, no, it couldn't get there. And then the next thing you know, I mean, it went by so fast from when it left China and spread to Europe and the rest of, even though America didn't have the test or whatever, and they were denying, I think, that they had that many cases. It was obvious that once it had left and it was in Europe, it
Yes.
was bound to be all over the world. I mean, even like Nigeria, for instance, they had like one case because there was an Italian person that had traveled through there, but they were able to find the people he interacted with,
Yeah.
and then it was 35,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now they
yeah.
have 200. So they like shut everything down because for places like India, Nigeria, it would be devastating if that actually took hold. So it's been like a learning. It's just some sort of weird thing. It feels like you're watching a bad movie,
Yeah, exactly.
but we're in it. We're like the actors, and I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to be in the middle of anything like this, but unfortunately, it's here and we have to deal with it.
Yes,
How
exactly.
how how has it affected you? I know you have a son who's 6, right?
Yes.
How does it feel like he's not going to school and you have to keep him entertained? How does it feel having the kid not in school and so with at home all the time?
Well, it's not easy. I have to admit it. It was at first it was pleasant. I felt good to know that they stopped school.
Yeah.
They closed the schools, and he didn't have to go there because I thought it would be unsafe.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to keep a young kid at home entertained because um, he had his friends, he had his
Hmm.
tons of activities
Hmm.
after school. His days were full, and now he's suddenly into lazy mode,
Yeah.
with locked with us inside the home 24. We live in an apartment, so we don't have a yard to go outside to play, or to get some fresh air other than open the windows of the balcony. So it's not easy. He started out surprisingly well. We're switching a bit to some sort of homeschooling. We're following the schedule that he had at school,
Yeah.
and we're doing the same courses and stuff. His teacher was good enough to share materials with us, so that part of the day we've got it covered. But it's a lot of a day left afterwards. So uh, it's very.
It makes you wish you had a yard, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Or at least another another son. Maybe let them to do their thing, because with him alone, he does get bored. We don't want
of
to.
course,
We could take the easy way because he wants that. Like let him play on his console all day, or on the phone or stuff like that. Watch TV, but that would not be good. So we have to find ways to keep him entertained, play with him. We have to be his friends, his playmates right now. Even though at 6 years old, the games that he plays are driving us crazy sometimes.
you
But
mean you don't want to watch like I don't know, Toy Patrol like 700 times a day?
yeah, yeah, exactly, stuff like that. And we play. He has a lot of toys,
Yeah,
but he somehow is bored of them, and
of
he
course.
plays with. Yeah, he plays with bottle caps and pieces of paper and stuff like that. And he told it, "Here, get this monster. You are attacking me with this spell. Throw bits of toilet paper and stuff like that,"
Oh,
which is fun at first. I won't,
yeah,
but after 3 hours, not so much. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Oh my God. I'm going crazy with the two dogs, having them around the whole time. I can't even imagine what it must be like to have a kid. But I find it very funny. So I'm laughing at your
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not complaining. It could have been
right,
a lot worse, but it's difficult for us at times,
of
especially
course.
that I still have to work at home, and he's a good boy. He understands that I have to do my thing and I need to be left alone. But he's still young, and I hope sometimes he just storms into the room to show me a drawing
Something
he made or
exciting.
something like that, and he starts screaming and crying, and you know act like a child, because that's
He
what
is a
he is.
child.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So, and for you, of course, it's not a huge adjustment. Like for me and Federico, for instance, we're used to being together all the time. And for you, it must be the same thing. But I
Yes.
know for a lot of people out there, they were always working and always apart from each other. The kids were in school, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, everybody's thrown into this pot. And so it's a hard adjustment for a lot of people. But luckily, I'm sure for you, it's like, okay, so it's just the same, just a little bit more stressful, just a little bit because,
Yes, yes,
you
we're
have
we're
the,
lucky. We're lucky to have the experience, but I can understand how difficult it can be for others.
yes. I know a lot of bloggers also, like looking on Facebook, like some of the groups that we both belong to, a lot of bloggers that work online have taken a huge hit. Let me say travel bloggers because nobody's thinking about travel right now. Nobody even wants to think about it. Everything is canceled. So they complain a lot of like affiliate income and online income as a whole just being devastated. Has it affected you personally?
Yes, it has, and this might just be the beginning. That's what I worry about. It was, from what I understood, the effects of this haven't been that bad yet, even though they were horrible. But the company still had the budget set for the first quarter that ended on March 31st, So there was some money, put for advertising and stuff like that, which this thing changed starting the 1st of April. So things are getting even worse, at least in my case. Just to share some numbers, I did the math and compared to March last year, this year my earnings were 44% lower, which
Wow.
is a big dip,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, and and they're still going down right now
Yeah.
because yeah,
Yeah, well, because not just the smaller companies, not just the everybody's tightening their belts, but a lot of the big companies can't afford to. They're all trying to hoard money now, and so trying to advertise yourself. It's not to whom. Who are you advertising to? Everybody's kind of like locked up. A lot of people are out of jobs, and the last thing they're going to be doing is thinking about something that's a luxury, traveling. So it's not the first thing on their minds. They're trying to figure out how to feed their family. So I think in the long run, at least for the next few months at least, I think it's going to be even worse, or ugh, I hate to say it, but but it might just be, you know, don't even think about it for the next year because it's not going to come back. Because
yeah,
in my opinion, I think when travel eventually comes back, a lot of the airlines are going to be out of business. So there's going to be few. They're going to offer fewer flights and it's going to be pricier. It's going to go back to the old days where it was only rich people that could travel, at least for a while. That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I think.
Plus, it's also the thing that I personally feel. I like to travel, and
Yeah.
I already had plans. I had bookings made for this year.
Mm.
That in February I was still crazy enough to believe that maybe I will
That could
go.
be.
Yeah, it could happen. But even after this thing dies down a bit, even if the curve is flattened and the cases are starting to, the new cases are lower and things get somewhat back to normal, I wouldn't jump right back into travel mode. I wouldn't go into hop into a plane with 100 other people. I would still be
Exactly.
worried. This is what I say. I wouldn't feel comfortable to travel, to go to a new place, because I would still feel, I would be scared that maybe I would catch this virus and pass it
Yeah.
over to my family. And this is what I think that other people will feel and contribute to the decline or the slower recovery of the travel industry, at least.
Yeah. I was still looking. We had a cruise booked for June. My mother-in-law has a big birthday thing coming on, so we're like, oh, let's go on a cruise, and that's what she wanted to do because she'd never been on one. And even though it's like 2 months from now, I got the notice from the cruise ship, and they're like, "Oh, it's time to pay the balance of your thing." And I'm like, "I'm canceling that sucker," because my mother-in-law was like, she said she's like, "I am not going anywhere," and she lives in Rome, so they've got it really bad,
Yeah,
and so she's like, "I'm not getting on I'm not getting on a ship with all these people." And I said, "I totally understand because we were thinking the same thing too. We'll have to think of something else for you to do, but." A lot of people are going to think the same way. I mean, why
yes,
would you, knowing the troubles that the cruise ships have had, knowing that people have cut it on planes, how do you feel comfortable enough to now go, especially now when you know even more? Why would you subject yourself to something like that?
exactly, exactly. This is the problem. Probably the younger people, who are generally careless or
Yeah,
uh, more carefree, let's say,
yeah, exactly.
probably it won't matter that much for them. But I still believe that many people will think like you and me do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the next few months and next year. And, let's just hope that this is it for a while because, God, I hope that it doesn't become like we have to fight something like this every so often. I mean,
Yeah.
this is devastating to the world. We can't handle this sort of emergency.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think that at least since a lot has been invested in the healthcare system, let's say, with new equipments bought, probably for the next wave that people are estimating for the autumn, the next cold season, probably they will be better prepared.
Hmm.
Maybe
So,
until then, they will find at least some medicine, to help. This is what I actually hope to happen, some pill, some magic pill to pop up. Uh, Let the conspiracy theorists be proven right, and
yeah,
bring that
I know.
pill.
Exactly. Like, let's just have it. Like, I talked to my friends, I used to be a pharmacist, and I talked to some of my friends back in California, and they're like combination of drugs that the doctors are ordering, and they seem to kind of work as far as they know. So I'm just like, well, let's start large scale testing and, come up with these things, and whatever
Yeah,
it is, let's just fix it and go on, because we really need to go on. So
exactly.
tell me about the lockdown in Romania. I mean, like, in Spain, we really can't go out much except to walk the dog, go to the grocery store, and there's no like allotment for anything else. Is it as bad over there, or is it a little bit more relaxed?
At least in theory, it's just as bad. We only have the pharmacies open, not open. The strange thing here is that all shops and stores are allowed to continue operating, but
Yeah.
people are only allowed to go to supermarkets to buy food,
Mhm.
to pharmacies, and to pet shop, which is,
Mhm.
this is a strange contradiction. Then why are you sending people to work in a, I don't know, shoe shop, for example, when nobody is allowed to go there? This is the paradox of what's happening in Romania. But this is just on paper, more or less, because many people don't really stay at home as much as they should, and they still go to the shoe shop if it's open. They if they need to buy shoes right now, they will go in there as well. But I do notice that the traffic is almost down to zero. People are starting to pay more attention to keeping the distance. I see many people wearing masks and gloves when they're
Mhm.
walking down the street. So things are changing, and I think that this is a good thing in the
Yes.
end. Uh,
Yes.
the in the end, I say that it's up for us to take care of ourselves and not rely only on the government, because
Exactly.
it's not China here. They are not able to impose the same strict measures as they did in China, because the system doesn't really allow them to. And it's
Exactly.
also the people who are not used to be told to do something so restrictive. But
Yes.
but the lockdown officially is just like in Spain.
Mhm.
You have to file a, how do you say it in English? A paper, like a declaration when you're going out, to say that where you're going, why you're going there, and how long you're going to stay there. And
Mhm.
police will stop you, ask for that paper, and if you don't have one, there are fines of 500 euros and above. So they are trying, they are doing their best to keep this under control,
Mhm.
because Romania has a relatively low number of cases right now. It's a bit over 5,000.
Mhm.
Uh, there were estimates early on that by now there would be 1,000 per day.
Mhm.
So they are doing, the measures are working. It's better than they anticipated so far, and we
Good.
have to do this. We have to continue doing this, and it seems that most people are, are accepting the new way of life,
That's
staying
good to hear.
inside, wearing masks, and
Yeah.
taking care of themselves.
Good. That's really good to hear. I know they're having problems, of course, in the U.S. You can't tell me what to do. You can do this, but they don't realize that the sooner we get this over with, the sooner things can go back to a relatively new normal,
Exactly.
as we can, as best as we can. But
Yes.
all we can do is do our little part of it, and hopefully everybody else will fall in line and do what they're supposed to do. Now, with people that are staying at home now, a lot more people are realizing that they can work from home. They can actually, some people might like it, some may not and want to go back to work. Do you have any concern that just like you did, and you decided you didn't want to work in the normal sense of the way of work, that a lot more people are also going to be thinking that we'll start working online, and yeah, I don't know, I'll start a blog, and then I can make tens of thousands of dollars like like Calin does. And
I hope I will someday. I still have that dream. Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, are you afraid that it's going to become so crowded that
yes,
there's not?
I think it will. But it's not just the people that have to work from home. I also believe that the people who are unfortunately out of work or
Yes,
will be out of work will
yes,
start to look for options, and there are from the blogging world, that from the 2008 2009 recession, many people were forced to blog and are now successful bloggers and making more money than they did before. So
hmm,
there's always a chance for those who give it a try, who give it a shot and do their best. It's not going to be easy, especially now, but
yeah,
I do think that the online space will get very, very crowded, and this will also result in lower rates and lower earnings, at least for a while.
yeah,
But at the same time, I know that since I started blogging, many of my friends wanted to blog this, and strangers came to me and wanted a bit of advice on how to do this, and
hmm.
most of them quit because it's not easy.
No,
Most of
it's
the
not.
people believe that okay, you just write a few words there and the money come in. It's not
Yeah.
like that. There's a lot of work involved, and
Just so
it
you
won't work.
know, I earn exactly about 3 cents a day from the blog. So it's a labor of love. It's not, it's just something I enjoy. It's not something I do to make money, because there really isn't any money in it. But I'm not in the mindset of like, I am doing it to make money. So it's different. I think when you have a purpose, a lot of people think it's such an easy thing. I'll just jump in, like you said, write it and they'll come. But with 700 million, and I think the statistics are like 800,000 blogs, new blogs a day in the world or something like that. So you can just imagine, who finds you.
Yeah, exactly. It's way more difficult than most people think it is, or even those there's even a bit of luck involved here,
Yes.
but it is difficult. I do believe that it will get a bit more crowded, and I am sure that many people who will try this will succeed and will actually turn this into an opportunity and
Mhm.
change their way of living. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be
Yeah.
tough both for those who are already blogging
Mhm.
and for those who will start from scratch.
Yeah. Well, good luck to everybody, I guess.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Well, Colin, it's been really wonderful talking to you today. Once again, his blog is romaniaexperience.com, and it's exactly like it sounds. It's all about Romania, and it's a fascinating country and one that I enjoyed visiting. And so, if you're interested in anything related to Romania, whether it's lifestyle, even the COVID virus, COVID-19 statistics, he's got it all listed on there. So make sure to check it out. Colleen, thank you so much for joining me. It's been
Oh, thank you for
wonderful.
having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much again.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining me on this episode. We'll see you on the next one.